let's bring in our man, as we do this time. RJ Young, OUinsider.com. Find him on Twitter at RJ_Young, YouTube channel. As well, of course, the host of Fight Me with RJ Young, as he does that on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. RJ, good stuff happening. Are you excitement level for the NCAA tournament for you?
Perhaps a negative number, but,
Okay.
I'm going to watch it like everybody else because it's daytime live basketball, and I'm a sucker for sports. I think outside of the play-in game, I really want to see Chris Mullins go at Bobby Hurley's throat, but I'm not going to get to see that. There are things to get excited about, I'm sure, but I'm really just don't get embarrassed by Ole Miss on Friday. That's all I'm asking for. Just don't get embarrassed.
Sure. Well, I mean, look, they could lose the game, and I don't think it's a crime, but yeah, don't get blown out. Last year was. Obviously, it was the feel around the program last year was just kind of negative anyway. By the time they made the tournament, and it ended in kind of a whimper. Yeah, just have some pride, play well, and hopefully get a win.
Right, absolutely, and that's all you can ask from Milan Kruger's squad. Now, I'll say this: they match up. Sound like Patrick Masick saying, "I'll say this: they match up very well with Ole Miss and vice versa. Like the only edge that you can see on the tail of the tape is free throw shooting." They frankly shoot better free throws than Oklahoma. Outside of that, field goal shooting percentage is about the same. Possession's about the same. I mean, they are evenly matched, and it should make for some good basketball if both teams decide to show up and play.
RJ, let's go to football for a little bit. I saw you did a podcast about the expectations of Jalen Hurts. I haven't been able to watch it yet. What are your main points in that? What do you think OU fans should expect out of him?
To win a college football playoff game. That's the ceiling. Look.
That's good.
But that's why you brought him in. That is the reason. You had Baker Mayfield win a Heisman Trophy, didn't win a college football playoff game. You had Kyler Murray win a Heisman Trophy, didn't win a college football playoff game. I mean, we were talking about this in such a way that, hey, yeah, cool, Jalen's coming. Would he win a Heisman? Well, all right, Oklahoma does that. Will he win a Big 12 championship? All right, Oklahoma's done that 4 times in a row. All right, we'll make college football playoff. Made 3 already without Jalen Hurts. What does Jalen Hurts bring to Oklahoma that Oklahoma doesn't already have? A college football playoff win. He knows how to go in that semifinal and get it done. Now, the caveat there is people forget in that season where he was absolutely outstanding. I think they beat LSU something like 10-0 because the defense was so great. The defense was outstanding. And if you don't have an outstanding defense to match with Jalen Hurts, then you got another problem. So it comes back to, what does Alex Grinch do with the defense? And can Jalen Hurts be put in a position to win a college football playoff game in the way that Baker Mayfield was and perhaps Kyler Murray was not?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question for me with Alex Grinch, again, is can they get stuff out of the guys they have this year? We talked about a lot. We both agree, OU has talent on defense. And the previous staff couldn't get it out, whether it was coaching them up, whether it was the scheme, how they were using them. It didn't work. Yeah, as we talked about, this team gets to a number 50 defense. They'll be competitive. They'll be competitive in the Big 12 every year, but they get in the 50s in defense in the country. That's a championship level team.
Well, and that's kind of the point, right? It's a championship level team with a really bad defense. We got this tradition in the Big 12 where Texas ends up handing the Big 12 championship to Oklahoma at the end of the year. And you don't necessarily need a top 50 defense to do that. The way to look at this, the way to look at this is not can you win the Big 12 championship, not will you be competitive.
Sure.
It is, as the 3 seed in the college football playoff, can you walk into a stadium, neutral site, with Alabama and Clemson and get a W? Because that's the way that it will look today. 1 would be Clemson, 2 would be Alabama. You could say 3 is Oklahoma if you feel in that kind of way, or Ohio State at 4, or Notre Dame, or whoever it is you want to throw in there. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get matched up with the 4 seed. You're not going to get matched up with the 3 seed. You're going to get matched up with Clemson or Alabama. And do you have a defense that can get you enough stops to let Jalen Hurts win the game?
Speaking of defense, RJ, let's go there for a minute. 2 questions. What do you think? Will Jalen Redmond be able to play this year? And if so, how well? And then what do you think is the potential long-term of Ronnie Perkins, who I know has been pretty outspoken what he thinks he can do?
Double barrel question. First answer is Jalen Redmond's going to be ready whenever Jalen Redmond is ready. I mean, it's not the kind of thing that you can rush. I mean, he's not coming back from a leg injury. He's coming back from a blood clot. So it's just, I mean, who can call that? You know, like, so if he's ready to go, absolutely, he'll be a player. He's going to be on the field. But if he's not, he's not. And you have edge rushers. You have guys. Like, I got in this argument with B about it because I'm saying Brandon Drum. I call him B. I'm saying that you have enough bodies at that rush in position where those kids need the reps. And are you going to give reps to a guy like Jalen Redmond, who hasn't played a lot of football, who still needs some help, but absolutely could reach another stratosphere if he gets the reps and he's healthy? It's a crapshoot. And if I'm a coordinator or a line coach, I'm going to give David Ugwebu or Joseph Wette or Marcus Stripling or Marcus Hicks or Ronnie Perkins or Mark Jackson those reps. Now, as far as what Ronnie Perkins can do, we're going to find out. I don't think they're going to hold him back. I think they're going to say, okay, young man, let's see if you can buck. You tell us you can buck. Let's see if you can buck. Because you leading the team in sacks last year ain't that really big of that. That ain't a big deal at Oklahoma. You know, we were very good, and getting 4.5, 5 sacks in a season, all right, cool. But can you get to 9? Can you get to 10? Can you get to 12? Can you be the force that you think you are? All right, Ronnie, let him go. And I think they're gonna. I think we're gonna find out in this year, this 2019 season, what's the ceiling on Ronnie Perkins? Because if you look at this defense, you can't pick out a first-round draft pick right now. You don't look at this defense and say one of these guys is going in 2020 in the first round. Ronnie Perkins is your best chance to have a guy on the defense as a whole go in the first round of any NFL draft. So you have to let him go.
RJ Young, OUinsider.com. Twitter, at RJ_Young. Fight Me, 10 o'clock on Sunday morning is his program as well, talking OU. Yeah, gosh, with the defense, everything, I know we broke it down. Excited for some offense with OU. Again, I'm interested when we actually see some video or we get to actually see the spring game, honestly, what the tweak is. Because one thing Lincoln has done great is he's tweaked the offense for skill sets. And we all agree, Jalen Hurts is different than Baker Mayfield, who was different from Kyler Murray. How they're going to utilize his skill sets and how the offense will be tweaked ever so slightly.
Well, you're going to get a guy that's not very good in the zone read, right? At least of what we saw when he was at Alabama, but is very good with QB power. So you'll work that into the game plan. But I also think you're going to take advantage of the running backs that you have. I still contend, if Rodney Anderson is healthy, Kyler Murray doesn't win the Heisman Trophy because you don't draw it up to where your quarterback passes 4,000, rushes 4,000. That's not how anybody draws up their scheme. You don't want to Booby Miles it. You just don't want to do that, especially at a place like Oklahoma where you have all these weapons. But the problem that you're going to run into is that folks are going to try to force Oklahoma to pass the ball out of traditional run formations. So I think what you're going to see more of is that wide receiver, the Grant Calcaterra, the Lee Morris, and they might even just bring those guys in and decide to run the ball. Now, what I'm thinking about is Cam Newton at Auburn when Gus Malzahn had that offense humming. You could go back to Nick Marshall. And the way that they were able to beat up on teams was really just say, hey, are you going to give us one-on-one with the tight end, or are you going to make us pound you? Because we'll do either one. So I think that's where we're looking. So maybe 2015 Oklahoma, if you haven't seen a lot of Auburn when Baker Mayfield was just taking over the job. And you can think about it in the way that Samaje and Joe Mixon were back there together and the way that they were used. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. So, I mean, if we're talking over-under, let's say that Jalen passes for 3,000 but rushes for 700. That'd still be pretty good.
Good stuff as always, man. We'll chat on Thursday.
Thanks, RJ.
All right, fellas. Appreciate you.
Good stuff as always. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back to close out this program. Don't forget